I'd like to read an excerpt from Chapter 9, when young Falcon Lord rescues Lizard Bill from a furious storm at Cape Cragmower. The storm roared. The waters around Mitor and Bill rose in fury. The rain drove itself even harder, and the winds picked up as if they were all intent on preventing the rescue of these two impudent intruders, as if it were the duty of the elements to drown them, or otherwise disappoint their ruler, the mighty Cragmower, and suffer his wrath long after the storm settled. "Take my hand," Brighton yelled, leaning as far down over Handauer's side as he dared, his other fist gripped around the saddle horn. Handauer's effort to hover over Bill and Mitor was beyond heroic. It was almost supernatural. He beat his wings despite the fact they were soaked through and twice as heavy as usual. He fought to go as low as he could without hitting the churning waters. As it was, he could not prevent the tips of his long flight feathers from dipping beneath the surface, picking up even more weight and resistance. He kept his talons outstretched, as if to defend himself and his rider from the lurching waves. Mitor was sinking, the choppy surges throttling him up and down, this way and that. He, too, flapped his wings to stay afloat, but like Handauer's, they were soaked and waterlogged. And what no one would ever know was that deep within his mechanical mind, he was calculating just how much tension he had left in his springs, and just how much longer he could keep his parts moving before he would be completely unwound and rendered useless to his master. So the little robot paced himself the best he could, determined to serve her until his own end, if need be. Lizard Bill reached up. Water punched into her open mouth. She choked and gagged. She couldn't see, but she reached blindly, stretching her fingers as far as they would go, praying to feel his in return. Brighton was about to fall off the saddle. He tightened his knees with all the strength he could conjure. Her hand was still a foot away. Handauer fought to maintain a steady height, but could not help the rise and fall of his massive frame. Bill went down again with Mitor's sinking body. No! Brighton couldn't let her go. He would not. With a great roar that was not his own, but that of his timeless spirit, he leaned out even further and stretched his limb beyond its limit. He closed his eyes at the same time, determining never to open them again until he had possession of her. The distance between her hand and his grew shorter and shorter, but it was taking an eternity for them to touch, like the collision of tectonic plates moving over the surface of the earth, gliding toward each other, molecule by molecule. The instant their fingertips made contact, they both opened their eyes, and their eyes were already focused on the other's, boring into each other's souls and sharing in that brief instant an eternity of secrets, secrets about the two of them known only by the higher aspects of themselves, secrets locked in the Akashic vaults that were penetrable by no one, not even the gods. And the knowing that came about from that sharing caused such explosions of glory and light within their hearts, even Cragmower momentarily lost hope of destroying them. Their eyes locked, then so their fingers. Brighton slid his hand down around her wrist, his blazing visage boring into hers. He gripped her with the strength of 1,000 giants, and nothing would break that union. Handauer could sense that Brighton had her, and the great bird rose. With a willfulness that matched his rider's, he drove his wings up through the storm and carried Brighton and Bill away from the surface of the maniacal sea. At the same time, Brighton hauled Bill up behind him, the way Lord Aviemore had plucked up the boy, seemingly without effort, and slung him into the saddle's rear so many long years ago. And she clung to him, the way he'd hoped she would in his premonition of the rescue. But she clung even harder than he had imagined she could, and it sent torrents of warmth through his heart, the likes of which he had never known. "Mitor," she screamed, shaking from his spell. She was looking down over Handauer's side at the furious waters that had let her escape. Mitor was nowhere in sight. "No," she screamed. "He saved my life." Handauer rose against the hammering wind and rain. Before Brighton could explain that they couldn't go back for the robot, they both heard its voice. "I am here, master." Indeed, Handauer had the little machine clutched in the talons of his left foot. Bill was relieved. She leaned her head against Brighton's back as Handauer powered through the already weakening storm. But what next came from Brighton's mouth, he himself could not understand. "I should have let you drown, the both of you." And the remarkable feeling that had flooded him inside and out vanished as if it had never existed, and likewise in hers. In case you hadn't noticed, My robot is a perfectly capable flotation device, she screamed back at him. Brighton rolled his eyes to take his mind off the emotions that were rampaging in his gut, the way the storm was raging outside. "Yeah, Handauer," he shouted, kicking his falcon in the ribs. Handauer shrieked. Lightning flew from the sky. The mountains shook with thunder, and the four of them, Brighton, Lizard Bill, Mitor, and Handauer, vanished in the turbulence. That's all for now. Until next time. Thanks.